We're going to bring in Amanda McCluskey, Head of Sustainability and Responsible Investment at Colonial First State Global Asset Management. She joins us from our Sydney Bureau this morning. Good morning to you, Amanda. Are you ready to vote on August 21st?
Sorry?
Are you ready to vote on August 21st here? It is a snap election. It was called surprisingly over the weekend.
Yeah, no, it's been a real surprise for us as investors, but it certainly means that we'll be excited to see what signals the government's going to give us in terms of policy on climate change.
Yeah, and what about the policy on climate change? What do you think of what Gillard has proposed here?
Look, to date we haven't really heard anything new. We're not certain what the response to climate change is going to be, and that creates a lot of uncertainty for us as investors. With the delay in the CPRS, it means that we haven't been able to build in a price of carbon either on the upside or downside for the companies that we invest in. So until we know what the emissions trading scheme in Australia is going to look like and when it's set to start, it makes a lot of uncertainty for us as investors.
Yeah, and what about what Tony Abbott is campaigning on in terms of climate change and his stance on this carbon trading scheme?
Look, there isn't really a huge amount of difference. Either side of politics have both really been heading in the same direction, that being a price on carbon. So for us, it's not really about looking at either side and seeing which one's got the detail. It's really just about a scheme being implemented, because once we have that price, it doesn't matter from what side of politics it comes. It just gives us a price to be able to work with.
Okay, so which side seems more sincere to you in implementing this carbon trading scheme as soon as possible?
Yeah, definitely, and we want, we recognise that there needs to be a soft start to the scheme, so there needs to be a period of transition, and one of the options was going to be a price cap in early years, but now we, sort of given the delay in that, we'd really like to see a firmer start with clear trajectories and a decrease in the amount of carbon that can be emitted across the economy as a whole.
Yeah, and Amanda, you were pointing out some companies that might benefit from implementation of this sort, and you pointed out AGL and Origin Energy as being the two companies that you think probably has the most solid understanding of the carbon exposure. Would these two be the best picks to be putting in your portfolio if we do see this carbon trading scheme come through?
Yeah, they're two companies that have really positioned themselves well to benefit from a transition of a decarbonisation of the Australian economy. They both have exposure to renewables, and they both have a really good understanding of what the carbon liabilities could potentially do to their business. And I think that's all we can really look to understand as investors at the moment, is what are companies doing for both the upside and the downside. You know, 59% of the companies that we surveyed last year told us that they saw real opportunities off the back of climate change to increase the levels of demand and for their products and services. So there is a lot of opportunities to be created once the scheme's actually in place.
And now, Amanda, quickly here, you say the main opportunities for investors in Australia is a direct property space. How does that make sense for a carbon trading scheme?
Yeah, so right now it's not so much the carbon trading scheme because it's not in place, so we don't have a price to be able to work with, but there's other policy measures that governments have in place that gives investors opportunities, and the ones we see as most tangible at the moment have been in the built environment or the property space. So the government's had a number of grant programs, the Green Building Fund, for example, that we as investors have been able to apply to green up our property portfolio. So we've got about $5 million from the Australian government to make some of our office towers more green. So the Carbon Trust that's now been launched as well is also going to focus on the property sector. So that's where the most tangible opportunities that we see at the moment are. And in the other sectors, until we've got a price on carbon, there's not really much that we can do.
All right, Amanda, thank you for your insights this morning. Nice to see Amanda McCluskey of Colonial First State.